Hey, and welcome to another video for our PHP class. In this video, we're talking about milestone number 4. So we've previously discussed the persistence of what we want our cart to do. And in this video, I'm going to show you the object for the design of a cart. And so all the properties and methods that we would probably need in a shopping cart. So earlier, I showed you what I thought would be a good property of what a cart contains. The user ID is a good property, and then we should have a list of items that the cart contains. And so in PHP, there's an object called the Associative Array, and so we'll have to take a look at some examples of how they work. But you can see that in this Associative Array, it has 3 elements, 3 pairs of elements you might call them. And so it shows that in this cart I have product number 2, number 7, and 21. And product number 7 has 3 items in the cart. So since there's a huge focus in this class on the idea of design, I've created an example of what a cart design might look like. And so a shopping cart object I'm going to assign to have 3 different properties. So I'll have it as the user ID, which is obviously the owner of the cart. And then we'll have a list of items, and it's going to be an associative array. So each pair in the array is going to be a product ID followed by a quantity. So you just saw in the previous slide that those are the IDs of the product and how many are in the cart. And then I'm going to have another list, an associative array called subtotals, and it will calculate how much money each item in the cart should cost times the number of items in the cart. So down here in the second section, this is the methods of a object. So we're going to have a constructor, and it will take the ID of a user, and when it's done it'll return an empty cart. So then we should have a method called getItems, and it'll return a list of all the product numbers and quantities. Then we should have an addItem, and it should give us one more item in the list. RemoveItem should take that item out of the list. SetQuantity, we'll probably want to have the user set the number of each product. And we'll GetTheTotalPrice as a method that'll add up everything in the total value of the cart. We should probably have GetUserID and getItems as items as well. So getters and setters are likely in there, but these are the ones that I can think of right now that we should probably develop in our cart. So let's talk about arrays for a moment here. In the W3 schools, there's some nice examples of what an array is. So this is a simple array. We have something like this where it says cars equals, and then we have 3 strings. And we're used to this kind of array where you have array number 0, 1, and 2. However, the kind of array that we're looking for is called an associative array. And so here's an example of an associative array. So in PHP, you can take a number and a string together, or 2 numbers or 2 strings. So you associate the different pairs. So for instance, this is an array called age. And if you say, give me the age of Peter, it's going to print 35. And so let's see what that looks like in the example if we run it. So there it is. Peter is 35 years old. So following that, a close thing right behind it is always going to be a for loop, so you can see how a array is counted. So this is a standard for loop for x from 0 to the length of the array, and it'll print out the number, or print out the letters. However, the for each loop is more common in associative arrays, and this is the kind that we'll be working with. So we get the same array here with the person's name followed by their age, and then we have a for each. So it says for each age. So that means for each item in age, and the item counter will be x, and it's x value. So if you print through it like this, you're going to get both of those items. So let's run this example and see what that looks like. So it says the key equals x. So the key equals Peter. And then the value of Peter is 35. So that's the way we're going to be working with our array. So let's scroll down some more. You can have what's called an array of arrays. So in this one we have array 0, which is this thing. And then item 0 is another array, item 1 is this array, and item 2 is this array. And so if you run that example, you can see we've got ourselves a different idea altogether there. So 2-dimensional arrays means we're going to have 2 numbers followed by in the square brackets. So the one I want you to focus on right now is number 3. We're going to be creating an array with associated pairs in it, just like you see here. Okay, so after we design the cart model here, we're going to go and do some coding and then some testing to see if these functions actually work.